A few months ago, I was on a train from Berlin to Dresden. I ended up sitting next to an older man, retired, born and raised in Saxony. We started chatting, and somewhere between Leipzig and Riesa, the conversation turned political. He told me, quietly but firmly, I don't trust any of them anymore. The politicians, the media, none of them. At least the AfD says what others are too scared to say. At first, I was shocked. But more than that, I was curious. Because this man wasn't shouting. He wasn't angry. He was tired, disappointed, disconnected. And he's not alone. Right now, Germany is facing a political turning point. The far-right AfD, once a fringe movement, is now polling above 20% nationally. In some eastern states, it's even the most popular party. But this isn't just about one party or one election. It's about a deeper shift, one we can feel but often struggle to name. This is about trust, or rather, the collapse of trust in institutions, in politicians, in democracy itself. So what's driving this shift? Let's start with something Germany doesn't always like to talk about. Its East-West divide. 30 years after reunification, Eastern Germany still has lower wages, higher unemployment, and fewer opportunities. Many feel like they've been promised prosperity that never came, like they're second-class citizens in their own country. That creates resentment, and resentment, when ignored, becomes rage. Then came 2015, the refugee crisis. The images of crowded train stations, the sudden arrival of hundreds of thousands of people seeking safety. For some, this was a moment of pride. Wir schaffen das. But for others, this was overwhelming. It triggered fears about identity and safety, about culture and cohesion. And while many of those fears were exploited, not all of them were addressed. And here's the part we don't discuss enough. Young people. We assume that young people are automatically progressive. But in Germany today, a growing number of under 25s are flirting with extremism. Not because they are hateful, but because they are hopeless. They feel locked out of the housing market, trapped in precarious jobs, and unsure what the future holds. They see climate promises made and broken, economic policies that protect banks but not them. They grew up in a democracy, but they don't feel like it works for them anymore. And finally, many feel frustrated with the current government, the so-called traffic light coalition of SPD, Greens and FDP. Too many debates, too few results. Too much talk about transformation while everyday people struggle with rent, energy prices and inflation. But here's the thing. This isn't just about Germany. This isn't just a German story. In France, Le Pen is leading polls. In the US, January 6th happened and people still re-elected Trump. In Italy, Meloni is in charge, and in the Netherlands, Wilders just won big. The far right is rising not because people are suddenly more radical, but because they feel like no one else is listening. And when democracy stops listening, people stop believing. When enough people stop believing, the whole foundation of democracy begins to crack. We start seeing more division, more polarization, more us versus them. Conspiracy theories spread, journalists are attacked, judges are labeled enemies. Suddenly facts don't matter, only feelings do. And here's the scariest part. History tells us that this doesn't end with a stronger democracy. It ends with chaos or control. That's why this moment matters, not just in Germany, but everywhere where democracy is under pressure. Now let's talk about the danger we face. The real threat isn't the AfD. It's what their rise reveals. The growing vacuum where trust used to live. When people feel unseen, unheard, unvalued, they tend to drift. and they drift toward anyone who offers simple answers, even dangerous ones. We like to say that democracy is about voting, but what happens when your vote doesn't seem to matter anymore? What happens when politics feel like a theater and you're always in the cheap seats? I keep thinking about that one man on the train. He wasn't evil, he wasn't extreme. He was just done. Done with hoping, done with waiting, done with a system that, in his eyes, had stopped caring. I wonder, what if someone had really listened to him 10 or 15 years ago? What if policies had been made with him in mind, not around him? Would he still feel this way? Probably not. So what can we do? What now? We can't just shout democracy is good louder and hope it works. We have to listen, especially to the uncomfortable voices. We have to build, not just in institutions, but relationships. We have to deliver on jobs, on housing, on opportunity, not just for some, for all. And most importantly, we need to bring people back into the conversation. Because democracy isn't just a system, it is a conversation. And right now, too many people feel like they're not invited to the table. This is a test for all of us. The next 4 years will be crucial, not just in Germany, but for democracies across Europe. This moment is a test of whether democracy can still adapt, still connect, and still care. The question isn't what's wrong with them. The question is, what are we willing to do to make democracies work again for everyone? The answer to that will shape the future. Thank you.